My name is AIDA anak SIBAT. My supervisor's name is Moni binti Kaspin. My title of thesis is Factors Influencing Terrace Houses in Selangor. Student code RES6556B2. My phone number is 01131827065. As for the introduction, government is focusing on the housing provision to help the low-income group to own a house. For example, Rumah Selangorku started since 1st January 2014 by Lembaga Perumahan and Hartanah Selangor (LPHS), who provided to the homebuyers whom eligible to apply for the Rumah Selangorku and must live in Selangor. Besides that, the privatization sector was introduced to encourage the house industry, which focusing more in high-end and expensive houses. Based on study done by Enawati, Hasnaniwati, and Atasha 2016, found out that most Malaysians are spending half of their income on their debts. Most of the largest debt goes to paying off the housing loans. The third one is the macroeconomic factors was seen influence more in the housing industry. Example of macroeconomic factors are inflation rate, population growth, gross domestic product, household income, and interest rate. As cited by Gu 2011, found out that macroeconomics factors give short and long term as dwelling with rapid development in the industry. For example, population growth affect house prices due to high demand but have a scarcity of supply. Next, review of housing policy to draft more on the comprehensive national housing policy. According to Yong, Ling, Yun, Fang, and Chun, 2016, the matters that take into consideration by the government such as the need, demand and supply, land for housing, finance for developments, human resources, technology and designs of material of the developments, infrastructure, law of housing policy, utilities and the social services, socioculture, sociopolitics, socioeconomic, research and design, data centers, and the information of the housing. Next one is the implementation is based on the 8th Malaysian Plan 2001 to 2005 and continued during the 9th Malaysian Plan 2006 to 2010. This implementation is focusing more on the providing an adequate wealth assets to the people. Rapid population growth, especially in the urban area, encourages the 9th Malaysian Plan to be continued. Due to the rapid population growth, the demand for houses is also expected to rise. Last but not least, the private sector also has an important social responsibility. This responsibility is by providing social infrastructure and a healthy environment for the residents. This responsibility is important because it can overcome the social problems, such as poverty among the people. Private sectors also joint venture with government to meet the needs of the home buyer. The third slide is about problem statement. The first problem statement is the rapid development in the economy. As cited by Gu 2011, stated that from 2007 to 2016, house prices grew by 9.8%, while household income only slightly increased to 8.2% in Malaysia. Besides that, developers competed with each other to develop new buildings to gain profit, so they have to hire more labor forces. The second one is the lack of a comprehensive housing policy. For example, Sell Then Build (STB) failed to tackle buyers to purchase the house due to the underlying problems of not being able to promote in Malaysia. Thus, Build Then Sell (BTS) introduced to the buyers, which is all construction costs and importation of raw materials is borne by the developers. The third one is the insufficient of the legal provision from government. Developers misuse their powers to put a very high price to gain more money. abandoned project because developers did not have a proper investigation and feasibility studies on the project. Last but not least, the implementation of GST. Studies by Cheryl 2014 stated that 6% of GST are being charged to end consumers by government. Besides, the changing of GST to SST also affected housing industry. The next slide is about research aim and objective. This research aimed to get to know the trends of the terrace houses price in Selangor from 10 years back, which is from 2009 to 2019. The first objective is to investigate the factors that influence the housing price. The second objective is to analyze the factors that influence the terrace houses price in Selangor. The third objective is to determine the most influence factors of terrace houses in Selangor. The next slide is about research methodology. According to Markowitz 1952, research design is a framework of method and techniques chosen by a researcher in the research. In the data collection method, researcher applied secondary data which are more on breach and property market report. Researcher also applied interview by WhatsApp app to gain data on the ranking mode. Researcher also use sampling techniques, which is purposive sampling technique, whereby a researcher wants to get more information on the topic in judgment and select the most useful sample for the purpose of the research. Researcher also use and applied 5 steps in the data processing. The first step is searching and reviewing the journals. There are numbers of journals found in Emerald Insight, Google Scholars, and others. Researcher also decided that 15 articles to select in this report. The second step is fixing independent variables. Researcher decided that interest rate, inflation rate, lending rate, unemployment rate, population growth, neighborhood, location, and labor forces as the independent variables. The third step is the collecting data from internet and data stream. The data was collected from Bridge website in time series order, which is from 2009 to 2019. The fourth step is the arranging, checking, editing, and computing the data. After collecting the data will be represented in line chart and edited through Excel. The last step is the analyzing, interpreting, and reporting the finding and empirical result. Researcher verifying by analyze the independent variables whether they are significant to terrace houses in Selangor. Ranking mode also used to support the ideas in the report. The data analysis is the process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling the data with the goal of discovering useful information. It is also to measure the independent variables by using ranking method from the interview with the viewer. The next slide is about data analysis and finding. The table shows a median price of terrace houses in Selangor from 2009 to 2019. Especially in year 2012, the housing price of terrace houses dropped dramatically from 307,500 ringgit to 132,900 ringgit. It is due to the economic downturn in Malaysia. In 2013 until 2019, the price of terrace houses in Selangor steadily increases as shown in the table. In 2013, it increased to 245,000 per house. It is because of the high construction costs and budgeting in the development period. The housing prices of the terrace houses in Selangor increased also due to the scarcity of land in Selangor. The price of the terrace houses in Selangor increased steadily also because of the interest rates by bankers to the investors and the home buyers. Next, as shown in the table from 2013 and above, the price increase steadily shows the inflation rate in Selangor is very high. As the increases in the population growth, it will affect the demand and supply of the raw material and the change of pattern of construction methods. Independent variables of unemployment rate did not correlate with the housing price in Selangor. Unemployment rate is when there are two people did not have jobs, but the house prices keep on increasing. In the nutshell, all the independent variables affect the terrace houses price in Selangor, except unemployment rate, which cannot affect the housing price, as housing price will keep on increasing even though employment rate low or high. The table shows the ranking on the most influence factors to the least influence factors on the terrace houses price in Selangor. The data was gained from one of the valuer in the University Technology Mara by using interview through WhatsApp apps. From the data, researchers found out that location is the most influence factor in the terrace houses price in Selangor. Meanwhile, the least influence factor in terrace houses price in Selangor is unemployment rate. It is because even though unemployment rate is high or low, the housing price will keep on increasing. The next slide is on the research objective finding. The first objective is to investigate the factors that influence the housing price. Researchers decided to use inflation rate, interest rate, lending rate, unemployment rate, neighborhood, location, population growth, and labor forces as literature review in the report. The second objective is to analyze the influence factors of the terrace houses price in Selangor. Researchers found out that all independent variables can influence terrace houses price except employment rate. The third objective is to determine the most influence factors of terrace houses price in Selangor. Researchers used ranking mode which gained from the interview and found out that location is the most influence factors in the terrace houses price in Selangor. The next slide is on the implication of the study. House price index indeed crucial in the formulation of the macroeconomic policies. National housing policy should be reviewed and studied in detail to align them with the monetary policy. For example, sell then build system was changed to the build then sell system. House price index also gives impact to house buyer in their purchasing power. Besides that, Lembaga Perumahan dan Hartanah Selangor (LPHS) announced the concept of affordable homes for the home buyers who live in Selangor. This will give them opportunity to live happily in their own house. Last but not least, Datuk Sri Najib Abdul Razak encouraged home buyers in Malaysia in collaboration with Cagamas BSN and EPF. This will encourage home buyers to own their first house. The next slide is on the limitation of the study. The main limitation faced on the research was the data collection, as the researcher had to change the techniques of the data collection. Besides, it is generally covered the housing market of whole Selangor as it used the data of Selangor as a whole. It is also hard to test the significant level of each independent variables as researcher cannot get the actual information from the interview. Researchers also face the difficulties to meet the supervisor for further information due to the online distance learning because of the COVID-19. The next slide is on the recommendation for future research. Future researcher is encouraged to try other method which is reliable to collect the data. Future researchers are also encouraged to investigate the implications of the research in the stated area. The next researcher also can get some macroeconomic factors which can influence in housing price that can be used by the future researcher in their research. Future researcher can implement various techniques in the data collection. Last but not least, future researcher can conduct research in a specific area so that it would be easy to get the information. As for the conclusion, researchers found out that location is the most influence factors on the terrace housing price in Selangor. Meanwhile, the fewest is the unemployment rate. The data on the ranking was got from interview and a respondent through WhatsApp app.